Our next speakers are Krista Wellnitz and Dong Isbister. Krista is an associate professor in animal dairy science at UW Platteville, and Dong is an associate professor of women's and gender studies at UW Platteville.
Thank you, Matt. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here today. Krista Wellnitz from UW Platteville, and we are looking at evaluating the trends in our animal dairy and egg business courses at Platteville, and those trends and how they relate to what we see throughout Wisconsin in similar programs. And this program or project kind of came about with a discussion with some faculty in our programs, seeing low numbers of males in our classes, and how that's changed over the last 15 years. So I was an undergrad at Platteville in 2011, and as a student, I can say to what I'm seeing today that these trends have changed drastically in the last 10 years, going from like 50-50 males to females to much less in our animal and dairy science related classes. And so Dr. Isbister and myself have taken on looking at why these have changed and regionally if these are the same trends that we're seeing. So to give you guys a perspective, there's been an ever-changing female to male ratio over the last 15 years. And so based on fall 2023 numbers at Platteville specifically, we have a 50-50 approximately male to female ratio in dairy science, an 89-11 female to male ratio in animal science, and 45-55 in egg business. And so trends from previous years have also showed similar trends, understanding that our dairy science program is not as old as egg business and animal science. So when we compare this to the School of Ag as a whole, which also includes soil and crop science and those sorts of programs, we have a 69-31 female to male ratio in students throughout the School of Agriculture. On a smaller scale, we're also looking at the technical universities as well. Southwest Technical College, which is in Fenimore, which is close to UW Platteville, they currently have an 80-20 ratio of male to female or female to male in egg business, dairy science, animal science, and their farm operation program. So when we look at the labor force and the demand, and kind of the idea behind this project is if our students are graduating with a dairy science degree, are they utilizing the education that they came to the university for, right? And so our initial outlook as far as how are these students utilizing their education, Wisconsin is home to about 5,500 dairy farms, and many of our students are going to go back to those home operations. The dairy industry itself contributes about $45.6 billion to the industry each year. And we also have students that are considering jobs in other industry professions, like feed mills, dairy consulting, nutrition and reproduction, things along those lines. So from there, 35% of the principal operators on farms in Wisconsin are female. And so are the students that are in our programs continuing to go back to farms, and how are they utilizing those degrees? And so some of the major programs, animal science, dairy science, and egg business at Platteville are seeing a large number of our students go into manager positions, nutrition, calf care facilities, things along those lines. But if they're not, as seniors, when we interview them, if they're not going into egg business or animal science related field, what are they going into? And why is that? Okay, why are they changing those potential decisions? So more women have been enrolled in ag-related college programs nationwide since the 1980s. Particularly true in dairy science programs, which are prevalent at a majority of our local and regional universities. However, enrollment challenges have caused issues with degree completion and just general number of students that are coming through our programs. Dairy science program at Platteville was launched in 2016, thanks to Dr. Tara Montgomery and others, and have graduated more women than men over that time span. So here's just a brief diagram or graph that shows the number of dairy science students at Platteville, male in blue, men, and then females in orange. And so that's from 2016 to 2023. So you can kind of see the differences in those there. So we also have the dairy science programs at Madison and River Falls that will come into some data, not in this presentation today, but later this spring. So I'm going to turn over the slides to Dr. Isbister to talk about our research questions.
Thank you, Krista. So we have two research questions, and the first one is why those students who selected a degree in dairy science in college may be choosing different career path after graduation. And the second question is, what can we do to ensure transition from dairy science degrees to industry-related jobs for all institution types in Wisconsin? So based on the research questions, we also developed our research goals. We have three goals, actually. The first goal is to evaluate trends in male-to-female ratios in dairy science and related programs at UW-Platteville. The second goal is begin to understand how the female-to-male ratios in the classrooms transition to positions in the agriculture industry post-graduation. And the last goal is, if our students are not transitioning from agriculture degrees to agriculture-related positions post-graduation, what professions actually are the female graduates seeking and why? And so let me move on to the next one. And we also have the research methods that include survey and focus groups, including current majors and alumni, and also we have interviews. After we launch after we launched the survey, and 120 participants answered the questions, and 105 actually completed the survey. So I'm going to give Krista the floor to talk about the analysis.
Thank you. Okay, so we administered a survey via Qualtrics to any animal and dairy science and ag business majors that had graduated, not our current students. So we had this open for 2 weeks and then took any of those answers that were completed or surveys that were completed and collected the data. This is step one of our research. We're currently in the analysis stage, and then interviews and focus groups will be set up following the holiday. So this was our initial attempt to get information and interest from previous students. So as Dr. Isbister said, we had 105 people that completed the survey, and the survey consisted of 25 questions related to gender, age, when you graduated, what your major was, and some other basic questions. So of the respondents, we had 70 female respondents and 35 male respondents. I do have to say I thought this was fitting based on what we're currently seeing in our classrooms. But as we can see, by age category, I don't know if this is too terribly hard to see, you can see an increase from 18 all the way to 65. And so this survey we gave on Facebook. So it was a link that I put out on Facebook and said, hey, if you're an undergrad or a previous alumni of UW-Platteville in these programs, please take the survey. And so we utilized 100% online means to get our data. And so you can see the largest number of respondents in that 26 to 35 age range. I partly attribute this personally to having a lot of my previous students on Facebook, and they will do things when you ask. So I am thankful for them in doing that. So when we look at the number of respondents by area of study, and so this really can depend based on double majors and those sorts of things. And so we see a larger number of our respondents were animal science, 13 respondents were dairy science, and then we also had our dairy science and animal science double majors with agribusiness. Other students were also listed there as well. They didn't specifically list one or the other. Most interestingly, so of the 105 respondents, when we asked participants if they obtained an agricultural position immediately post-graduation, 91 of 105 responded yes. So once they graduated, they were going into the field in some form. Of that, 14 responded no. And to break it down a little bit further, 59 of those were male or female, and 46 of those were male respondents. From there, of the 91 that responded yes, only 9 said that they transitioned to a non-ag position. Okay, so 6 female and 3 male. But then when you look at it closer, of the 14 that originally responded no, 9 of them have since transitioned into from a non-ag position into an agricultural position. And so of those, 5 were female and 4 were male, leaving a very small number of our respondents that aren't currently in an ag position. And some of the respondents that said that they were not in an ag position currently are over the age of 65. So that kind of explains some of that as well. So then we went a little bit deeper and asked what their current employment segment was, or sector. And so a large percentage are in industry, with the other percentages being in academics, private, and other related fields. Okay, so now I am going to turn over to Dong for our next steps and where we're headed this month.
So I'll just make it brief. And so we're going to gather data related to the focus groups and individual interviews in January, February, and compare the trends in similar programs from other state and regional four-year and technical institutions. So that's pretty much what we have done so far. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.